Uh-oh. Let me hold on. I got to get to the comments. Hey, what's up, everybody? Hold on, let me pull up these comments because I want to read one of them. I think it's this one. Let me turn that off. There we go. Hold on, y'all. Let me just get some stuff ready real fast. Let me get this link. Hold on, y'all. Let me go over to Facebook. Just now coming in, let me know you can hear me on the mic. Need my gaming chair. Hold on, y'all. Make this post to Facebook real quick. Can somebody say something for me? Put something in the chat. Let me know. Let me know. Just put something in the chat for me. Boy, it's rough going on a brand new channel. It's probably wanting to stream into my regular joint. What time is it? I'm about like 2 minutes early. I'm gonna start in 2 minutes. I promise you. All right, I got that up on StreamYard. There. We get started in a minute. 1 minute. I need a little show countdown video. All right. All right. So today's conversation was really quick. You know what I mean? It's a question mark. It's who won't smoke with Abe Lincoln. I'll start off with saying April the 14th is indeed the day that Abraham Lincoln actually caught a bullet to the back of the head. Tomorrow will be his death day, and the cat lost his life, while at theater with his wife. And I naturally feel like, that's the most cowardice, craziest shit to do. It actually sort of breaks some type of war code in a sense. And there's a war code, from my perception, of, when you with the woman and a child, which are your natural weaknesses, you off limits until it's game time again, where you're not with those people. And so for Lincoln to die that way, um, it's horrific when you look at the cause. And the cause is without a shadow of a doubt. Lincoln didn't have to be the one, but we all knew that somebody had to be the one, you know? And we're talking about breaking that last physical chain of slavery where you're no longer in physical bondage. I'll save a little something. Slavery ended in three phases. We only really hear about Abraham Lincoln, the physical aspect of it, which was the last final blow to the institution. But knowing that Lincoln lost his life for the cause of freedom to the Negro, I can't accept anything less than that was the reason. And white people don't have this problem telling history unless there is a faction of them that is trying to create a new narrative, mainly southern writers trying to create a new narrative on this principle called the lost cause, as if slavery wasn't the root. And it's a flat out lie for anybody to perpetrate and say that slavery was not the cause. This is how I know, people are not really read on the subject, and that's dangerous because if you haven't researched the subject matter to give such staunch opinion, means either A, you're parroting information from something you heard, well, it's really that's only it because you don't have no you don't have no study. You haven't went to primary sources. Who was there? What these cats say in their memoir? Are you going by Google and anybody can type in Lincoln is a racist and then you're gonna get clips of what he said that appears to be racist? That's easy to do. But did you stay in the whole conversation? Have you read other writings and speeches that he's made? Do you know the laws that he passed with a S plural? You know, and oftentimes we don't. And so, again, it's been put on my spirit to really reveal this truth. So today's conversation, it was open ended, and my email list, my people know. Like I ain't got nobody around me who don't know. So they don't show up and they're like, oh, that's Noble on his shit, I'm gonna have to go in a whole new arena because my immediate audience know my stance, know what I'm saying is the truth. Therefore, there's really no need for them to come. So, but if you knew and you happen to see this, um, just stay with it and let's just lay it out and put everything in its proper piece. It's a simple timeline puzzle. That's it. The beautiful thing about the United States is its origin has always been rooted in two causes: the slave stater, which they inherited, and the free stater, which will become the new nation. This is important to understand because the old slave system, again, there were architects in different phases of time that chipped away at it and ultimately brung it down. So you have to know the clever story of who was who. You see, it's so disingenuous. I'll show you something, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna share my screen. Um, where's StreamYard at? Let me share my screen, and I want to read um response that I got off one of the comments. And then I'm tripping. Oh man, don't tell me. Oh, here it is. All right. So we go into a long and I don't want to mess your name up. I'm assuming it's a male. So Mr. Namin um, responded to a video I did and had given some quotes as to the policy I seem to be suing. As you say, I have not meant to leave anyone in doubt. I would save the Union. I could save it the shortest way under the Constitution. And it's going to go on to say, like, when you get up in here, this is their favorite line. This is Abraham Lincoln speaking, and it's a letter that's responding to Horace Greeley, who's a part of the Republican Party, and he's also like chief and editor of his own newspaper. And Lincoln said, "My paramount objective in this struggle is to save the Union, and it's not either to save or destroy slavery." And people be like, see, Abraham Lincoln wasn't trying to deal with slavery; he was just trying to save the Union." And then they love to put this sentence in right here: "If I can save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it." Right? And then they never ever come right behind it with the very next sentence: "And if I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it." Complete contradiction, canceling out the formal statement. If I could say the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. If you want to make the argument that says, "Hey, I told you he's not for slaves," it's all about the Union. Because if he can, say the Union without freeing no slaves, he wouldn't even free our black self. Okay. But then that's also the equivalent to us running with the other side of the equation. If I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it, which means all the slaves are free if this is going to be the only way he can save the Union. And so what we lack is military insight and ingenious and strategy and what it will take to cripple the slave power once and for all. Okay. And so that's a contradiction in of itself, and it just amazes me some people never put that point, and some people never even really elaborate on that. So then he goes to give his his opinion, but I want to skip and go down to the third paragraph, because when you come right here and you say the Civil War didn't end slavery, this is where we have to really end the conversation, because it's simply not true. And one thing is a fact: 1865, generally surrenders. Then the 13th Amendment is passed in 1865. There is absolutely no more physical chattel slavery for Black people in the United States of America. It is gone. It is finished. You're not shackled anymore under the Confederate South. Okay. So when we say the Civil War didn't end slavery, yeah, I really can't take this too serious, because this is not even a conversation that you imagine saying that and trying to take that to, can we take it to a college campus and have a historical conversation? Can we go to the battlefields where the National Park Service is having conversations and say the Civil War didn't end slavery? That's absolutely a farce. And that's how delusional we have become when it deals with this black and white issue. Instead of dealing with the historical facts that's there, we really can't, for some reason, it's like we can't accept the reality of it. Yeah. you know, um, the North didn't give a fuck about freeing slaves and abolishing slavery wasn't the goal on either side. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. See, here's another problem. I'm gonna make it cool for people to have to really represent their state. And what I mean by that is, like, listen, the slave powers were here first because it was a system that's inherited from King George. I think we can agree to that point. Okay. So this is in the colonies. All right. So the the colonies, since it inherited this system, it's already pro-slavery. The problem is there's a group of people within the colonies that's like, nah, that's some bullshit. This is what it is. It will later be known as the New Englander, more of the abolitionist. right? And so these people had an idea that everyone should be free. The current existing thing is bogus. That's a fact. That's the whole point of the different ideologies between North and South, right? And so, again, I'll save the timeline, but before the Declaration of Independence, before the United States Constitution, before the first bullet flew in the Revolutionary War, these founding fathers have a document where they list 12 grievances and give it to King George. This is before the Declaration. This is before the first gun shot is fired in the American Revolutionary War. They tell King George, point number 2, we want to have nothing to do with slavery. We wholly discontinue the practice of it in the hiring of vessels that's concerned in it. Come this upcoming December. So the intention of the United States of America, yeah, I got the shirt on. The intention of the United States of America, meaning the newfound country, has always been about the freedom of the slave and everyone. If you want to say everyone have freedom and just a slave, that's fine. I can accept that. But it was always about the freedom of the black man. I just said it is documented that this was given to King George. They don't want to have nothing to do with slavery. The problem that you lack of military thinking as men have is you're not taking in consideration that, well, in order to pull that off, no more slaves, our sister brother in states, South Carolina, Georgia, and whatnot, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, this may turn into a civil war. We just got out the Revolutionary War. We haven't even created a constitution. If we get rid of slavery off rip, this could potentially be a civil war. And almost 100 years later, it became that because that was obvious. In order for that to physically stop, like stop all the way, that's going to be a problem. So we best deal with this systematically. We'll get to it. We'll walk it down. So even in the Constitution, I give up one. Even in the Constitution, it is written that the slave trade, the importation of slaves, will stop in 20 years. In 1808, it will stop. So why are you making mandates that the bringing in slaves will stop if you're anti-slavery or if you're pro-slavery rather? So that makes no sense. But it's always been a plan, secret because nobody talks about it. But it's always been a plan to liberate black folks. Always, without a shadow of a doubt. We're gonna go to another comment. Um, where's that other one at? Where my man at? Lloyd Pendleton. All right. So Pendleton said, listen, man, I read a little further down in the fifth debate. He's talking about Abraham Lincoln debating Stephen Douglas, where Lincoln definitely responded to Douglas' accusations that he was being two-faced in his speeches. I'll explain the two-faced thing in a second. He definitely had been consistent in saying that he, one, would not abolish slavery where it already existed. Two, would not allow slavery to take place in any of the states being formed. I want to stop right there for a second. So when we're dealing with these two ideologies of point 1 and 2, he's saying Lincoln is saying in the debates he would not abolish slavery where it already existed. But Lincoln is also saying, but hey, nigga, in any new states, no, slavery is not going to take place here. It's not happening. So now we can easily say, well, Lincoln is against the expansion of slavery because if he wasn't, then he'd be all for it. Let the states pick. That was Douglas' whole thing. This is known as the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Douglas is the chief engineer of that, who Lincoln is debating. He has a concept called popular sovereignty, meaning the states should be allowed to pick if they want to have slaves or not and have nothing to do with the federal government intervening. Okay? and telling the states what you're going to do, which was what? The federal government had a mandate. It ain't going to be none of that. Okay. So now Lincoln is against the expansion. So if you think Lincoln is a racist, that's interesting because now it's a racist who is against the expansion of slavery, and that in itself is a contradiction. It don't define a true racist. Okay. I wouldn't say. So anyway, it's funny if he's against the expansion of it, do you think he wouldn't be against the local practice of it? See, this is art of war. This is art of war. He even said he wasn't going to tamper with this in this inauguration speech. Because if I come in out the gate telling you I'm putting an end to it, telling you the Civil War thing that we all trying to prevent is going to come to a head much faster. In fact, even in a debate, if I stand on that, then I fuck around and won't even be elected president. Which takes us to the two-face thing that I'll talk about in a second. So his third point is he views slavery as wrong and that all men, regardless of color, should be equal, having the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as it was written in the Declaration. Interesting. So now, he's a racist, but for some reason he's against the expansion of slavery, and he said slavery was wrong. That's what he said. He views slavery as wrong. All men, regardless of color, have equal rights according to right life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as is written in the Declaration. For that while they should be free and equal to pursue the things written in the Declaration, they, which is black people, are physically, morally, and intellectually inferior to white people. It should not be allowed to intermarry, vote, serve on a jury, or live amongst white people as equals in this country. Right? And then he's continued to paste. So it said, your man Lincoln, while an abolitionist. Now, see, he's pasting what Stephen Douglas is saying in the debate. Your man Lincoln, while an abolitionist, was a flat out racist. Okay, sorry, he makes it plain in all 7 of the debates. Okay, now that's him telling me that. So, how was he a flat out racist when you said he was against the expansion of slavery? How is he a flat out racist where he said, hey, man, um, um, um the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, that's I believe in that for black folks. How's he how's he flat out racist when you said he views slavery as a wrong? Oh, because you said all this. Oh, he said black people shouldn't intermarry, vote, serve on a jury. Why did he say that? Again, he's talking to who he referred to as Judge Douglas. Okay. This is very, very interesting to note when you're dealing with this. When Lincoln is talking to Senator Stephen Douglas in the debates, he always refers to him as Judge Douglas. Lincoln's an attorney, but the reason, and I'm guessing he called him judge, because he's appealing to the logical side of his brain. Ain't no way in hell you can be a judge and not know the difference between right and wrong. That's what judges' jobs are to do, is to adjudicate over a matter. He never referred to him as senator. He always came at him on the level of law. Now, this very same speech, because y'all cats only got, anybody that's anti-Lincoln only got 3 things, and they really only know about 2. You a little bit, if you know about the third one, you a little bit know something. But you cats only got 2 arguments. You're going to go to the Horace Greeley letter, and I'll save, if I can say the Union without saving the slave, but we already know the opposite, the very next sentence after that. If I can say the Union and free all the slaves, I'll do that too. So that don't even make sense for you to hold that belief. And then you're going to go to this right here where Abe Lincoln seems to appear to be talking about black people in the inferior position. Again, I even seen a quote. I don't know if it's true, but I seen a physical picture quote of Minister Farrakhan quoting this same speech. The white man being Abraham Lincoln, I'm inferior. The white man being in the superior position, that speech. But it's very funny because Senator Douglas, or Judge Douglas, in a debate, used the exact same quote that you people are using. against Abraham Lincoln. And he told, and he was telling the crowd, he was like, "Hey, Abraham Lincoln is full of shit. When he comes down here, um, when he comes down here in the southern part of the state, he's saying the white man is superior and the black man is inferior. And he does this to all you Kentuckians and Virginians and Tennesseans to try to sway the vote. But when he get back up north, he's talking about the black man is equal to the white man, and this was so written by our forefathers in the Declaration of Independence, and he's teaching black republicanism when he's up north. So how do you say, Mr. Lincoln, to these two opposing points? This is Douglas calling Lincoln out. Douglas, again, he's there. Why should I believe you when you wasn't there? I wasn't there. But I'm going to show you the people who were actually there, not what an author said Douglas said. When you read the debates, Douglas said it himself. We're going to deal with the primary source. The primary source, the real op, Douglas, who has the concept of popular sovereignty. Let the states pick the slaves. Why would Douglas say, I don't believe Abe Lincoln is for the white man is superior? He pump faking you. He trying to get your vote. Now, really look at the mindset if Douglas is right. Because what he's accusing Lincoln of doing is trying to steal votes from Southern people who do not have the same mindset of freeing the slaves as the Northern person does. So how Abe Lincoln going down south and talking about, hey, vote for me because I'm the emancipator and slavery's wrong. You heard all these speeches, and I ain't gonna even break them out. There's just shitload of speeches from Abraham Lincoln when he's talking about, well, if you like slavery so much, I'd like to see the man who likes it. I want to see slavery tried on him and let him tell me what he think then. Oh, he got some heat when it comes to being anti-slavery. I'm just waiting to see if somebody gonna step up to the mic and we try to challenge this thing before we break it all out. But the point is, how could Lincoln go down south and saying I'm gonna emancipate and free the slaves? Like, nah. And I'm gonna tell you who else didn't believe him. Two people, South Carolina and Mississippi. Here's the proof in the pudding, ladies and gentlemen. One, South Carolina is the one who starts the Civil War. They fired the first shot at the election of Lincoln. Your elections always take place in November. Your inauguration's in January. Come 3 months later in April, the motherfucking South Carolina like, fuck this. We about to take our guns and we gonna shoot at that boat. That boat is called the Star of the West. That boat is a commercial boat, but it carries federal supplies on it coming through the harbor of Charleston called Fort Sumter. We're going to shoot that boat up because I don't like Lincoln. I know what he said in the debates. The whole Republican Party. So the first guy who said the North didn't want to free slaves, you're telling a lie. There was always abolitionists that was up north. Hello, there was called Underground Railroad houses too. You're lying. Okay. Not only that, again, the North has free states on purpose. That's major. That's a major key. You have free states on purpose, countering the slave states. And when you look at the history of it, the truth of the matter is free states were coming into the Union before slave states. Slave states had to respond to the free states that was coming in. So I'm gonna get on that. Hopefully I'll get on that. But anyway, when South Carolina starts it, but when you look at Mississippi secession speech, and here's the proof. If you ever want to, if you want to see if it was about slavery or not, go read Mississippi secession speech. Okay. In fact, let me share my screen. We'll go look at it together. We go look at it together real fast. Let me share my screen. All right. Let's go to Mississippi ISSIPPI secession speech. We want to go to the Avalon Project, who got it right here. Thank you, Yale. Appreciate you. And we're going to go to the beginning. And what they say right here about slavery. Talk to me. The hostility to this institution, which is slavery, commenced before the adoption of the Constitution and was manifested in the well-known Ordinance of 1787 in regard to the Northwestern Territory. Okay? Okay? Come on. Listen. This is Mississippi saying why I'm trying to get up out of here and form our own thing. Our position, we'll start at the top. Our position is thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery, the greatest material interest in the world. It labor supplies the product which constitutes by far the largest and most important portions of commerce of the earth. These products are peculiar to the climate, virgin on tropical regions. Now watch this, they're about to go in. And by an imperious law of nature, none but the black race can bear the exposure of the tropical sun. Give your melanin some props, you melanin heads. Mississippi is acknowledging your melanin. Now, how you use it in revolution beats the hell out of me. These products have become necessities of the world, and a blow as slavery is a blow to the commerce and civilization. That blow has long aimed at the institution. Hear Mississippi out. Mississippi, y'all hear this shit? Mississippi said this blow has been long aimed at the institution and was at the point of reaching its consummation. There was no choice left us but submission to the mandates of abolition or a dissolution of the Union, whose principles had been subverted to work out our ruin. So they're telling you that the federal government has long been aiming at the institution of slavery, trying to interfere with it. And then they say, hey, we do not overstate the dangers to our institution. A reference to a few facts will sufficiently prove. And then they go ahead and quote, hey, before the United States had a constitution, these motherfuckers had an ordinance talking about wanting no slaves allowed. Because, see, remember, what do I tell you? I'm from the NWO, right? The Northwest Ordinance. Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin. This was the free land. That's a fact. That's a free land. So here's Mississippi saying, no. We want out of this thing about slavery. So to say it wasn't about slavery, super wrong. Okay? Now, let's talk about states real fast. And if anybody want to come on, hold on, let me get the StreamYard link. I'm gonna copy it. I'll put it in the chat. If anybody want to come on, even if you want to come on and just say hi to me, it's all good. You ain't got to be a naysayer. Hit that link right there, the StreamYard link, and you can come on in. Come on in. So, anyway, let's talk about this, man. And I ain't gonna go through all of them, but I'm gonna tell you what you need to know. Right? Let's prove Mississippi theory that the government has long been aiming at this institution. 13 colonies, slavery is allowed. There's some people inside the colonies that don't want it. These known as abolitionists. They're mainly from New England. Okay. Again, I told you that white boy is different because he comes from Southeast England. Whereas the southern white boy, he comes from a place known as the Celtic Fringe, where Ireland and Scotland and all those merge in the northwest part of England. Okay. Two totally different cultures. All right. Totally. Later become North and South. Okay. And so the 13 colonies have slaves. And so now it's time to state up. It's time to create states, y'all. Delaware is the first state, slave state. Okay. Who's going to counter that? Pennsylvania. You'll come in as a free state. Okay. So Pennsylvania in my head, shout out to Philly, shout out to all of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is the ones that's stepping up and rivaling and helping out their Delaware slave brother, because Pennsylvania must come in to check that slave state to make it 1-1. Then the free staters start taking one hell of an initiative. Jersey is going to come in next. And as a response to Jersey, Georgia became a state. So Jersey and Georgia, you see what I'm saying? That's a pair. All right. Then you had two free states come in. Two came in, which would be Connecticut and Massachusetts. And so then the slave states responded with two states that came in next, which would be Maryland and South Carolina. So it's kind of like, hey, Connecticut, you check Maryland. Hey, Massachusetts, you check South Carolina. And that's a very interesting layout, because if you know anything, that the East Coast slave coast is Charleston, South Carolina is the biggest port for it, right? So South Carolina is kind of like the crown of it. Massachusetts is the crown of New England for the free thinkers. So really the South Carolina Bay and the Massachusetts Bay are the real North and South power hubs. Okay. And so these cats ain't going for it. If you look in history and look at a gentleman by the name of Charles Sumner, radical Republican senator out of Massachusetts, always rolling on the side of blacks. He's so radical at that time. This is before, this is before Civil War and after. Not only should black people be free, black men and women should be voting. Like, he was ahead of his time. So they called that group of people the radical Republicans. Okay. That was just all in. Wasn't no negotiating, it was all in. Well, Sumner, being from Massachusetts, was on the Senate floor, and he was attacked by South Carolina. Remember, I'm telling you, Massachusetts came in as a free state, but so did South Carolina come in as a rebuttal to that free state as a slave state. And then it's the senator by the name of Preston Brooks. Look into this shit. Preston Brooks took his cane and beat the living shit out of the senator Charles Sumner from Massachusetts. This is known as the caning. Seriously. This is how thick this race issue was, that the South Carolina pro-slave guy took it to an anti-slave guy in Congress and beat him with his cane damn near to his death. Look into that story. So there's pairs. You understand what I'm saying to this thing? New Hampshire comes in. Then who's the counter to New Hampshire? It's slipping me. Who the counter to New Hampshire was. But New York come in, North Carolina come in. New Hampshire, Virginia, that's who it was. So New Hampshire comes in, Virginia has to come in. New York come in, North Carolina come in. You know what I'm saying? And so there's this delicate balance that's being played at the formation of the new country, which I already said the new country had an intention in 1774 to say, King George, we don't want to have nothing to do with slavery. We done with that shit. But they wise enough to know that this can potentially create a civil war at the same time of a revolutionary war. Let's not talk about that right now. All right, cool. Let's keep that under wrap. So now 1787 comes, where it's time to deal with a constitution and laws. Before you get a constitution, they saying, hey, let's go ahead and push that Northwest Ordinance through. When we go get this new territory, not territory we got already, we letting you know that when we expand this government and get new territories and states, no slaves will be allowed here. You mean no slaves will be allowed here? Let the state pick that. No, the federal government said no. You can't do that. The states got a right to pick that. In fact, these same free thinkers would draw a line in the sand known as the Missouri Compromise. Missouri Compromise is so dope. Watch this. Missouri wants to come in as a free state. They said, okay, Massachusetts, I mean, as a slave state, Massachusetts, cut off that little piece on the eastern portion. We're going to call that Maine. Maine, you coming in as a free state. And here's the kicker. This is known as the Missouri Compromise, not the Maine Missouri Compromise, not the Missouri Maine Compromise. Maine was created to check the slave state Missouri, but Maine became a state before Missouri. And that's game. Like you gotta like this. I'm telling you, this thing ain't hard to see at all. At all. But don't worry, I got a beautiful book laying this whole thing out, you know, and that we got to tell this story seriously. And so, you know, it's always been somebody's putting in this work on the free side. They putting in work. So I'm gonna rest my case right then and there. I gave these two brothers, one brother, the first one, he said, you know, he declined. He probably think he wouldn't do too well on that kind of stuff. But it's just stepping up to the mic and having you know, a conversation of what you feel. Let's have dialogue about this kind of stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? So I put the link in the chat. You can click it. You'll come on the back end and whatnot. But yeah, let's have a dialogue about it and whatnot. Heavenly, what's up? Uh, but once we accept this information and understand these truths as you endear and what through our own process of research, what is it that you think will change with the US? Does it matter? What does it mean? Or with us? Which one? Is that us? What if you saying what do I think? This is my ultimate aim, right? I feel like I grew up believing the narrative that black that I was a target because I'm a black man and the black race is a target. And now there's a system in place that's going to purposely entrap us. So becoming successful is not even really a question. And it's not even really worth it because at the end of the day, somebody can come and burn down Black Wall Street, which again, that's Ku Klux Klan behavior. That is not a reflection of the United States government. Okay. And I'm going to answer another point that what the dude made so I can show y'all how to sift through this. And so we're starting at a handicap based off of perception of our lineage. Slavery, it's a setback, you're a target. And again, that makes you, you know, fear stops mobility. You ain't gonna make no moves. You feel me? David Vega, what up? What up? What up? Everybody click the like button for me, please. It's a very small special audience. But you ain't gonna have no mobility. And so to me, you know, people walk around here saying, you know, Jay-Z, if you ain't seen the short I put up, you know, Jay-Z, you know, kicking his shit on what's free. And, you know, he think he dropping it. He, you know, here's what's free in the land of the free, with the blacks enslaved, 3/5 of man, I believe is the phrase. And I'm like, yo, nigga, you missed it. So here we are thinking the government saw us as 3/5 of a human being. Here we are again. We're under this perception that, you know, we're a target. So therefore we've been physically set back due to slavery and civil rights. So now that I'm a target, now we just set back. And I'm like, yo, if you knew the simple real truth of the people who got you free, and that was always the intention and the aim, you ain't gotta have that belief, which means you more. You see what I'm saying? We so fucked. We like, God damn, let's do the math of this shit. You know what I'm saying? It is now 2023 minus 1865. We're 158 years removed from slavery, and we're sitting up here still having to have this conversation as if slavery is stopping us and racism is stopping us from being successful, or is the ultimate problem in the world for us. And I'm not saying that it's not. I'm saying when it was, I know motherfuckers who put plans together and took this shit for real, and went to get guns and got on boats and got cannons and they fought for 4 years on foot. They fought 4 years on foot and walked across states called Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, parts of Alabama, then went down to Georgia, came back up to South Carolina, and ultimately ended in North Carolina. Like, these cats was walking for 4 years on foot, putting in work. So I don't really have time for elaborate theories. I want to get straight to the facts of the matter. Who is who? So once you know that you are on the winning side, and it's a side that always had your freedom at the inception, I ain't gotta be sitting up here like, damn, I thought the inception in the Constitution was we was three-fifths as a human being. That's a hard pill to swallow. If you say the Constitution is the foundation of American laws, but within this, they say that black people are, which is called other persons, is three-fifths of a human being, and it's in your Constitution, you ain't gonna feel no love. You ain't gonna feel like, man, I don't give a fuck about this. I'm only here because my people built it, and I feel like I'm entitled to something. We built this thing for 400 years. Sir, you wasn't here for 400 years. You were not in slavery for 400 years. Okay. And so if we can remove that and show, again, as I pointed out with three-fifths, hello, why, who are they talking to? I always say that. When they're reading that clause, who are they talking to? Who are they talking to when they say that? They're talking to the House of Representatives. They're saying, sir, this is how you're going to become a representative. And this is how taxes is going to work. And this is how, this is how taxes is going to work. And this is how the vote's going to work. You, sir, as a representative, can only represent 30,000 people. So you can count all natural born citizens. You can count their vote. You got them. You can count people who are indentured servant for a period of time, meaning they basically an indentured servant, sort of like jail. They got to work off, you got to work off some debt for a period of time. You can count those too. You can't count Indians not taxed though. Okay. Don't count them. And then you can count three-fifths of all other persons. And that's supposed to be the slave. You can count three-fifths of the slave. Three-fifths. Okay. So if we're talking to a Southern representative, then what do he represent? Because he's from the South. He's from the enemy side. He represents slave power. So if you allow that slave master to count all of the slaves that you think you're crying for, call all of the slaves, then that means it's going to be more of them in power. If we say you can't count none of these slaves, then they can't get no representation for these slaves because there's nothing to count. You just got to count what's there. So you want to shrink the slave count. That's ingenious. That shit's ingenious. It works on your side. And they fell for it. So three-fifths is 60%. I'll always give the same example so you can understand it. If there are 1 million slaves on the census, and each representative can represent 30,000 people, simply put in 1 million divided by 30,000 is going to equal 33.3 representatives. If they count this 1 million population. But if you only count 60%, last I checked, 60% is 600,000 from 1 million. So you can only count 600,000. Take 600,000 and divide it by 30,000 per representative. That equals 20 representatives. You just shrank the slave representation in Congress. Hooray. And I got to say it, dumbass niggas. I got to. Because we sitting up here talking with so much base in authority and influence about something that is the inception point. This country, United States Constitution, is the cornerstone of law, thinking that we three-fifths of a human being at the cornerstone of its founding. That's fucked up. That is a mental slave. Just like you said, dude, you saw dude? Dude said, we're physical slavery. Slavery wasn't over. Well, if slavery wasn't over, what kind of slave must we be? Because we ain't physical slaves no more. What kind of slaves are we now then? You see? So what happens is to argue and support white supremacy, that's all you're doing. You're championing that. I don't care about that viewpoint. That viewpoint got smashed. I keep telling you that. So supremacy, what? They got smashed. Okay. Now, I was gonna show y'all something. But I'm gonna go to 2 videos and show y'all something. I wanted to say something, but it's slipping me. It'll come to me. Is this number 1? Sorry. Let me share my screen. All right. Again, anybody want to come up to the mic? You can say whatever you want to say. I don't think I got no nay takers, but say what you want to say. Come on to the mic. Keep me company. And this is on the Breakfast Club today.
How do we build progressive leaders in the South? The fight for American democracy, the fight for Black liberation, the fight for really everybody's liberation is under attack and siege in the South. And so the place to resist is in, and I mean this, it's in state houses in Mississippi and Georgia, in Tennessee, in Alabama, in Florida, in Texas.
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? What's his name? Justin, what's his last name? Justin Pearson. The state rep that they just said, hey, we kicking him out. What did he tell you the power, where the power struggle was at? In the state house, in the Texases, the Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida. Oh, what a coincidence. Those are the same slave states that we had to beat their ass. See, I ain't crazy. When I saw that, I said, finally, this is on world stage. This is what I'm talking about. Right? So he telling you that the struggle was there, right? So hold on, let me see if I can find this other video. Which one is that one? That's states. Now check this out. Oh, y'all got to see my new look at my new graphic too. Hold on, I'm about to show y'all real fast. Check it out, man. Check it out. It say Hip Hop Astrology TV at the bottom. You know what I mean? So that's what's actually got to get that put on the wall because I'm building the set for Hip Hop Astrology TV and whatnot. But rest in peace to the 10 that's right here. You know what I'm saying? Who I felt like was. And here's the kicker. I got them because they all was murdered by Mars. Don't worry. I'm going to make a real nice. That's a nice production. Murdered by Mars. I'm going to show you. So anyway, let's get into this video right here real quick. Oh, that's the picture. I'm tripping. Hold on. That's the picture. Hold on. Let me go to final help. Here we go.
And what is important to note here is that for us to seek and to be a part of liberation, and this is really important, the people who do have the resources also have a responsibility. And so when I talk about white people's engagement and involvement, it is not to say I'm just concerned about what they think or what they feel. It's because I believe white people and people of privilege and power have a responsibility of choosing a social location with the people who are being marginalized.
You hear that? So in a nutshell, if you're saying you believe white people that are in position, right? You're saying these white people are in position. They got a certain responsibility. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, he's calling for the Union soldiers. You just identified where the battle is at, which is the southern slave states. But then you go on and you say, hey, these white people who are in position, they got a certain responsibility to these people. And you're absolutely correct. They always had a responsibility for us. But we also, I'm telling you, Black folks, when it comes to this information, this basic history, are by far the most ungrateful species I've ever seen in my life. By far. Bar none. Bar none. I'm yet to see, like, damn, man, we give more respect to somebody who was a killer, rotten, foul motherfucker in poor liquor form before we would collectively say, man, oh, goddamn, today Abe Lincoln died, man. Let me just pull one for Abe Lincoln because he took the ultimate one. And then what gets me is, right, even if the racists created the coins and they gave you Lincoln on a penny and everything else is fucking silver, to me, that seemed like somebody went out of their way to say, yeah, we're going to make this coin be a representation of them since he represented them, these copper colored people. Here go his coin, and we're going to make him face the opposite direction that everybody else faces. And maybe they call it the rule of 42 because, You put all the, the quarter, the dime, the nickel, and the penny together. Is supposed to be whatever it is for what rule of 41 cents or something. And they say, yeah, he turned. They're talking about Lincoln. He turned his back on us for the niggers, and that's why they put on his back is facing the opposite way from the dime and the nickel and the quarter and whatnot. But even if so, that means that the power structure that B didn't agree that Abraham Lincoln was on their side if the racist people produced the coins. You see what I'm saying? They're not in agreement that Lincoln is one of them. There's so much disagreement that they decide to turn his face the opposite way and create it out of a metal that represented the color tone of the people he helped. Interesting. Again, the South don't have the same sympathy as the so-called intellectual niggas be having. Niggas are lying and making up stories. Okay? That's what's happening. So yeah, to even get that coin, you know what I'm saying? That's a testament of the spirit of this truth, the spirit of this victory that we're in. You understand what I'm saying? It goes that far to give you a penny, to give you a one all day, all day, all day. Abraham Lincoln was a mystic. Maybe I'll reveal what mystic order he was a part of, but he was a mystic. Okay. Now, it came to me. I lost it again. No, I'm going to tell you something. Oh, snap. Let me see if we can find dude's comments about Dred Scott because boy, they thinking they doing something with Dred Scott. Fuck the Dred Scott comments. That ain't shit. That's some bullshit. That's funny to me, actually. And let me see. Where was the Dred Scott comment? Was it here? Let me see. Let me see. As to the policy, Lincoln, nobody in the war. That must have been his second comment. Hold on, y'all. So let's see if we can find it on this one. Constitution, Lincoln, or Union in general didn't give a fuck about abolishing slavery. Can I find it? Let me see. Hold on. Let me do a control find. I'm trying to look for it here. I see it in that conversation. Boy, I thought you commented. So hold on, give me a second. Let me go back. This is what comment was that one? Spiritual policy. They had choices not to allow. Here we go. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So, let me share my screen again real fast here. Uh-oh. All right. So, this is dude responding to me because they had a choice and chose not to allow slavery, but they didn't care to free slaves elsewhere. Dred Scott versus Sanford shows very clearly that they didn't care. And he goes on to talk about, this opinion that was given. You know what I'm saying? It is difficult. And at this day, to realize the state of public opinion in relation to the unfortunate race which prevailed in the civilized and enlightened portions of the world at the time of the Declaration of Independence and when the Constitution of the United States was framed and adopted. They had for more than a century before been regarded as beings of an inferior order and so far inferior that they had no rights which the white man was bound to respect, and that the, I don't know, Almighty what might justly and lawfully be reduced to slavery for his benefit. And he said this was the Supreme Court 4 years before the Civil War started. And he's correct. Ladies and gentlemen, this is so easy. What he's doing is the Dred Scott thing was done by, and I'll do a video on him. Bitch ass Roger Taney. Fuck Taney. Taney was a motherfucking Confederate. Okay, he was appointed by Andrew Jackson. Okay, and he was a um, he was a Confederate sympathizer. So if you want to see slaves, like dude, dude comes from a mastiff. Despite emancipating his own slaves, he's a person who had slaves. You understand what I'm saying? And so he's more on that side. Now, this is what I keep telling you. This is where the game is at. He's in office as Chief Justice from 1836. Abraham Lincoln don't get in this thing until he's inaugurated in 1861. So this was known as the Tawney Court. So Tawney's court is tough. They don't like niggas, but they're not American though. That's what you fail to realize. Again, you have to say what side are you on? See, nigga, you on the north side at the time of the Civil War. You're going to be on the north side. Okay? Everybody want their freedom. Again, pair up with your respective states. All right? If you're from Mississippi, all right, hey, that's Indiana. They got you. You from Louisiana, Ohio, they got you. My New Yorkers, you with North Carolina, start pairing up. This military shit I'm talking about, because this is what happened. So the kicker is Salmon P. Chase, who succeeded Tawny. When Tawny died, Lincoln didn't even go to his burial. He put Salmon P. Chase in as Attorney General. What did I tell y'all? Salmon P. Chase is a flat out abolitionist. Should we type in Salmon P. Chase and Matilda, and you will see this is at the Library of Congress. You see this. The Library of Congress is telling you this. The colored woman named Matilda. This was a writ of habeas corpus with Salmon P. Chase is basically putting in the writ of habeas corpus to get this mulatto slave woman who's in Cincinnati, the land of the free, she should be free. He's a flat out stone cold abolitionist, part of what's considered the radical Republicans. Why would Abraham Lincoln, who's a racist, put in an abolitionist chief judge after the main chief judge who denied Dred Scott and black people's citizenship, right? Why would Lincoln make this move right here if he a racist? You can miss me. You can miss me. You don't know this. You don't know this. Again, government, see, the question that you have to ask is, has the government been infiltrated? The government, this formed with the idea of infiltration and freeing the slaves. It did. The question is, has this now been infiltrated by something else? And if it has, if it is what I think it is, it's way deeper than we'll be talking about. That's just a faction. That's just a little agitating piece, more like a distraction type of vibe. Yeah, it's true that I've read where Pascal Beverly Randolph was actually on a train with Lincoln's body, but some train stops made him get off because he was black and traveling with the president. But that's what I heard. And absolutely, they're absolutely recorded in as being brothers of the Rosicrucian order. That's not Amark, not the ancient mystic order of the Rosy Cross. Nope. Nope. He's absolutely fathered with that. And him and another Union general, forget his name right now, and Abraham Lincoln were a part of something known as the Divine Three. Facts. Abraham Lincoln and another Union general, Pascal Beverly Randolph, was part of a mystic order of the Rosicrucians. Serious. And they teaching you how to get into your higher self. For real, for real. This ain't no church dogma, none of that boring stuff. This the upstairs stuff over here. Okay, so you know they tripping. So again, Simon P. Chase is the antidote to that. You know what I'm saying? The abolitionists had to take over posts. Again, don't tell me somebody's side that's Confederate. That's easy to do. That's easy. They beat your ass. They had you as a slave. Okay, then what, nigga? What you do? You know what I'm saying? I'll give them a bonus. Two war generals called an emancipation, wrote an Emancipation Proclamation before Abraham Lincoln did. John Fremont, who Fremont, California is named after, John Fremont, and David Hunter, aka Black Dave. You know what I'm saying? And straight up, David Hunter, they used to call him Black Dave. They was raising black troops. David Hunter was raising black troops. It was like, emancipate, y'all emancipated. Y'all with me. You know what I'm saying? So Abraham Lincoln would rescind those. Like, no, 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 no. You're not doing that. And then people would think that Abraham Lincoln is a racist. See, he didn't even want to emancipate the slaves. His generals tried to emancipate the slaves and he took it back, made them cancel it. It's called military strategy, Dodo. If you make the Civil War, see, when South Carolina struck first, we can play defense now. That was so beautiful. And the defensive card is I'm trying to preserve the Union. You don't have a right to do this, preserving the Union. But if I say slavery, then Kentucky, who ain't jumped in with the Confederates, West Virginia, who didn't jump in with the Confederates, these border states, it's like, oh, shut, nigga, I'm about to bang on you, nigga. You about to end slavery? Oh, nah, nigga, you tripping. We banging. So these border states was like, hey, we got some slaves, but we ain't gonna kill you for wanting to get rid of slavery. Well, we might. So you're gonna have to tell them something else. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna make it like it's about the Union. Sharita, what's happening? And so I can tell you something that Lincoln said, right? That is so clever. He said that slavery was the only threat to the Union. Okay? Slavery was the only threat to the Union. So if he say all that he's doing for the Union, then what is he doing? Like, what's the only threat to the Union? Slavery. You see what I'm saying? And this is before he becomes president. That's what I'm saying. These cats don't know. These dudes don't know, you know? And so you can only go two places. You can either go to, again, these little speeches. That's your only two places you can run. You can't run on nothing else. You can't run on what legislation was passed that was against black folks when Lincoln was in power. Because last I checked, 13th Amendment. Last I checked, legislation where you got the Freedmen Savings and Trust Company, which was a bank. Huh? You don't talk about that. Lincoln signed that. You don't talk about that. You don't talk about the 1862 Homestead Act, that clearly says anybody with the intention on becoming a citizen can have these lands west of the Mississippi, and specifically disbarred from owning any land is anybody who's taken up arms and is in rebellion against the United States. Well, shit, it's 1862. Who is in rebellion against the United States? Oh, the Confederate States of America. So those white men who wanted slaves, they're not allowed to have any of this federal land west of the Mississippi River. But those who have intentions on becoming a slave, go read the Homestead Act of 1862, can own land. Wow. So the racist president, Mr. Lincoln, will allow me to own land and not the one who's shooting against them. Get out of here. Get out of here. You're telling the story. You're telling the story. These are facts, man. So anybody want to come up with me? I'm gonna come in and comment again. I'm gonna come on YouTube and drop it because it'll go faster. Um, who gonna come on camera with me, man? Talk to me. When you come on camera and talk to me as we grow, when people watching, they be like, "Oh, okay, it's cool, it's live, it's interaction. It just ain't me like I'm on the soapbox preaching." So click that link in the chat. Jason, what up? David Vega, what up? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Come talk to me. I thought, I ain't really think. I know my audience. My audience like, oh, that's Ampu. He ain't. I'm with you, nigga. You laid it out. I'm with you. Ain't no naysayers around me, and that's what's up. So I have to go find. I have to go find the tension. I may have to go back. I may have to go see my buddy Sonetta. May have to go over there and go go in that crowd, and because I know he got some upset, angry men at America. I know, I know, I know, I know. All right. Was I gonna show you guys something? Um, make sure I showed y'all everything. I showed y'all everything. Yeah, I showed y'all everything. Ain't nothing. But yeah, somebody come on camera with me. Come talk to me. And or no, I don't want you to put it in the chat. I actually to want you to talk to me. Ooh, my order delivered. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna get my flyer. Oh, hold on. Let's see this flyer. Ooh, my people, nice. Slave states have power. Ooh, we, we. Yeah. Hold on, I gotta let y'all see this. I gotta let y'all see this. I'm getting my thumbnails together, man. Cause I got look at this. Look at my design on that. Y'all like that? Took that quote. We took that. Look at that. Yeah. I approve that. Absolutely. 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 Where's that at? Yes, I approve. Absolutely. Absolutely. Very satisfied. Absolutely. Knock this thing out in 2 hours for $7.48. Can't beat that. Hey man, thank you. Give them three thank yous. All right, but talk to me in the chat, man. What y'all on? Yeah. Slave states have power, Blue. Oh, she gave me two different dudes. Think I'm gonna use the one with the fists because it just has more of that. I like the bright red. Yeah. All right. So what y'all on, man? Talk to me. Sending astrology. What up? What? Oh yeah. He says, yeah, man. I may have to do it. I may have to do it. I may have to go all there to the mud. You know, got my eye on somebody. That's really thorough on their research, though. You know what I'm saying? I just want to. I just don't want us to be hindered. You know what I mean? That's why, to me, I got to do the book aspect of it because, I believe that even start thinking about doing pamphlets too. Like if I, with a staple, like just hurry up and just do pieces of writings and get it out as much as possible because I believe that, your children one day and that curious person of wisdom, when that light bulb turns off, bookshelves should be a point of interest. If I walk in somewhere and somebody got a bookshelf, I really want to stop and look at it. Like you have to get to that point in your own development that information is great. You like I couldn't imagine not that would be torture to me. I couldn't see what's on a bookshelf. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much things like you want to do and stuff that's on your mind. I mean, it's just so much stuff, so much interest you should have. I would love to see what's on the bookshelf and see if something's there that interests me. You right? And so it's our job to leave some jewels on the bookshelf. And if the younger generation or the newbie who can be older but decide to get into learning information don't have to go through, the miseducation of this victim based story. You don't have to start there no more. And that's what we've been big on. You don't have to start right there at the pain. I'm 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 just more shocked, like, well, damn. It ain't even. Oh shit, that shit ain't even what we thought it was. What man? They've been getting their ass whooped for a minute. You know what I mean? For real. It was a takeover, man. Flat out. Seriously. It was a takeover. You name them first 15 states. I'm gonna show you. Oh man, I promise you, man, it was a takeover. It was a takeover. At the if Delaware was the first state to come into the Union as a slave state, and then after that, free states came in. It was a free state, then a slave, then free, then it went slave, then it went free again, slave, and then like on that sixth card, I call it, it was free, slave, because it was another pair that came in, which was Rhode Island and Vermont came in. So two free states came in, and then immediately under that, the response was Kentucky and Tennessee came in. You understand what I'm saying? And so to me, this shit is like gang banging at its best. Like this is way harder than gang banging. The spirituality of the red and blue is this shit. This is your blood in your crip, and the white has always been the truce, the peace, nigga. We throw the white flag up when we illin. You know what I mean? When we ain't illin. So then when you got this on, you in unity already, just by colors, you in unity, which is really some spiritual stuff that's going on some other things. You know what I'm saying? That deal with stars, red and blue stars to be precise. You know what I'm saying? And so the sooner that we understand that, listen, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, the Bloods and Crips ain't older than that. That's the original red and blue, which we see red and blue states now. So we just bastards to the party. You know what I'm saying? Like Claybone put out a beautiful documentary. You know what I'm saying? Bastards of the party. But we really bastards of the party for real. Seriously. You know what I'm saying? And so we have adopted white hillbilly culture. Again, get the book by Thomas Sowell, Black Rednecks and White Liberals. We're practicing Confederate culture. The slang, the terms we using, the activity, it's that's what it is. You know what I mean? So anyway, anyway, you know, the truth should set you free. That's the goal. You know, we didn't took over governments. That ain't nothing. We didn't took it over. You know, took it over, took it from them in phases, and that's the beauty of it. Like bleeding Kansas was real, man. That shit was so bloody they called it bleeding Kansas. I don't know what to say. Like, geez, the citizens was fighting over slavery so hard they called that entire area bleeding Kansas. It was like a citizen civil war. This was the biggest gang banging shit ever. The parties involved was called the Border Ruffians and the Jayhawkers. The Border Ruffians wanted slaves, the Jayhawkers didn't. Your man John Brown came to Kansas, got in the mix, and started killing some white folks who wanted slaves. And he brung his two sons with him. He was on the Jayhawker side. Henry Ward Beecher, a preacher out of New York. He's the one that talking about the Bible and the gun. Like, nah, I got the Bible and I got a gun. Henry Ward Beecher, white boy. Look into this. This dude will send rifles to Kansas and mark the crates Beecher Bibles so it can pass the checkpoints to have security thinking it's Bibles, but it's really guns. So now the Bible was used as a cloak for black liberation. The Bible that you say you don't like is used as a cloak to ship ammunition into Kansas for our liberation by a preacher, Henry Ward Beecher. Give props to him. Okay. And so Black folks can't even name 3 white abolitionists outside of John Brown. Take him off the table, name one. We stuck. We stuck like Chuck. Can't name one white person extending his hand out who went on the record book, let alone come into government. Ooh, we come into government. Because if abolitionists in the free states is a mind state, and it is, then okay, like who were they inside of government then? Did they ever make it to government? See, we don't know that part. We thinking maybe it was just some citizens that were abolitionists and putting a candle in the window to signal the slaves can come and stay here and hide here on their way up north. Nah, you had people that was in government that had this ideology. I told you had some people called radical Republicans that was with it, right? But you had them in Jefferson and in Washington's time, all the way on up to Abraham Lincoln time. So Washington is 1788 election, and Lincoln is his last election is 1864. Okay, so we like 20 some years short of 100, 100 years, and so that's what I was going to tell y'all. So when Delaware come in as a slave state, and then we coming in with free states, then free states, and free states, and free states. The South doesn't come in with a free state before a slave, with a slave state before we come in with a free state. Listen to me closely. The South was always responding to the North coming in with free states. And even though they started with Delaware, they wouldn't come in first before a free state until they got to Arkansas. When Arkansas came in first, we retaliated with my Detroit niggas. Hey, yo, Michigan, come in and check that and free your brothers down in Little Rock. Free your brothers down in Arkansas. Michigan, we calling upon you to balance out Arkansas. You see what I'm saying? So from Arkansas coming in to Delaware coming in, because Delaware beat Pennsylvania and came in first, that was 49 years, which is basically 12 election cycles. 12 election cycles you went before you came in first, allowing the free states to come in. So what do that tell me? Who's taking over? You see what I'm saying? The free staters took it over. All right. So where's the white supremacy in waiting damn near 50 years, 12 election cycles to before you come in as a slave state first? You see what I'm saying? Like you let 12 election cycles pass, and on 2 occasions the North brung in 2 free states where you had to respond with 2 slave states. So who was on the rope here? You see what I'm saying? The free states came out swinging, bringing in free states. Bam, 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 bam. You see? So we always was putting in work from up here. Like we don't have. I'm telling you that's there's a separation. That Mason Dixon line is real. The cultures start to change. You know what I'm saying? But within that, the ideologies changes. You know what I'm saying? There's ones who was riding on freedom and ones that just was slaves. This is what it is. You know, but anybody want to come up with me before we get up out of here? Ascending astrology. What's up with you? What you got ascending? Let me come over here, see what y'all on. Slave states have power. Yeah, I gotta do something with that. So we straight? We good? Man, nobody here wanna come up and rebut and say Lincoln ain't shit? He ain't nothing? Because I don't mind spilling it all out. Like you again, people only gonna say 2 things. So we straight? We good? Let me come over to YouTube. Nobody want to come on? Man, what y'all in history class today? That's what we doing. Like y'all in history? Yeah, man. It's just too much. It's too much. It's just too much to the contrary, man. Like it's too much winning. You know what I mean? Like we won. Grant Grant wins. Not only Grant wins the Civil War, like you had black people, black men could vote like 95 years before white women. No, 50 years before white women, right? So 1870 to 1920, so like 50 years. Black men can vote 50 years before white women. That is the most suckiest white supremacy plan to hold on to power forever I've ever seen. That's just retarded. I'm sorry. You didn't have enough basic common sense. You can rule the world, but you ain't got enough basic common sense to say, at least my woman can vote just in case I'm not here because I'm always the one that's fighting and going off to war and die. Let me empower her, but I'm gonna let black people vote. Y'all better get out of here. Y'all better stop it. Do not make up elaborate lies to pump up the power of so-called white supremacy. And I say so-called because as a man, you really shouldn't. And I don't want to say don't be in denial, or you should be in denial. But if there's another man over you that's supreme, that's a problem. It's just a problem. And I know that supremacy stuff has its root inside of the Confederacy, the KKK. The KKK ain't nothing but Confederates who lost. Nothing. That's all that is. Confederates who lost the war. Hence, their first leader was Nathan Bedford Forrest, which was he was more of a guerrilla type of general. He wasn't necessarily in the ranks of the army. He'd raise his own militia and have his own men, and they'd do what he say. He was a stone cold killer, a gangster. I actually like him. I must admit it. He reminds me of he was to me he's hard as William Sherman right here, who wrote the 40 Acres and the Mule. Like Nathan Bedford, like Sherman had respect for him, like he as a as a op, like okay, he can get down. This cat no strategy, he can get real nasty. So Bedford Forrest was a gangster. He was a G. I don't agree with his ideology. Union fucked him up at the end of the day, but Nathan Bedford Forrest men are the men who killed and massacred all the black people a little north of Memphis at Fort Pillow during that massacre when the colored troops are, you know, I don't think they was colored troops. They was enslaved blacks and they was free though. But they took up arms against them. But then when they lost that post, they tried to surrender and white boys just massacred them. Well, they was under the leadership of Nathan Bedford Forrest. But Forrest was the first director or first head of the Ku Klux Klan. So the Ku Klux Klan ain't nothing more than the Confederates who got their ass whooped. And so when they start passing the black codes and all that, Jim Crow South is the retaliation on black people from losing the Civil War. That's what you got to understand. Like, goddamn, like, how did we miss that point? So the whole, all that stuff, that's their clapback. The question is now, where are we at in that story? Meaning, where is the Union soldiers at in this story? Because at one point in time, after slavery, we're there. In fact, Grant has to mobilize and federalize the Union Army against the locals to make sure that black people will vote. I can show you three times in history, that the United States government issued martial law against white supremacy and never the black citizen. Grant uses um, federal martial law, Union troops, to ensure that black people can vote in the 18. Grant comes in what, 68, 72, the 72 election. Really, before that, like I said, he in 68. But before that, because go see what Hiram Revels, the first black senator, became the first black congressman. You're gonna see. Okay. So that was before Grant's second term. So Grant is the one that's going to militarize the Union soldiers to make sure black folks is voting without no pressure from the KKK. Grant is going to create the Department of Justice, and they're going to smash the Ku Klux Klan, and they eradicated them. This is Grant, right there in the middle. Okay, so Jim Crow South ain't nothing but retaliation. Now, there was a point in the very next election after Grant, 1876, Rutherford B. Hayes, I keep telling you, he withdrew the federal troops from down south, and that's when all hell broke loose. That's where the United States of America fumbled. Right there. Right there. That's the fumble. Right there. You dropped the ball right there. You withdrew federal troops in what we call Reconstruction. It's a wrap. It's over. Now ain't no federal troops down there stopping them white boys from busting you upside your head, passing literacy tests so you can't vote, and gonna play all these games. All the way up into 1964 to the Voters' Rights Act, where you then will start voting, but you had a right to vote in 1870, 95 years prior. You already had black senators and black House of Representatives, but all of a sudden you can't vote. You had that in the late 1800s, in the 1870s, but now you can't vote until 1964, 65. Something's wrong. How did you have the black electees? You know what I'm saying? The officials. So America dropped the ball right there in that pocket. So Garfield, who comes behind, none of them presidents that come behind Rutherford B. Hayes or really come after Grant, none of them motherfuckers dedicated anything to making sure that we was going to assimilate into this thing. Once slavery was over, after Grant, okay, Ku Klux Klan's gone. It ain't no more slavery. At least it ain't slavery. We ain't about to get into this shit. The new Republicans went super soft. The Republican Party was founded with one mission and one mission only. It was the anti-slave party, period. Now, what it's morphed into is what it's morphed into. But its origin is the anti-slave party. It is. And then there was a switch in the 1964 election. Um, yeah, in the 64 election, which is LBJ going against Barry Goldwater, right? So LBJ is what? Vice President to Kennedy. Kennedy wins the 60 election. Kennedy's assassinated in what, 63? His vice president, LBJ, is president. He runs on the 64 election against Barry Goldwater, a Republican who's not racist, who actually done some things in Arizona before the federal government did some things like starting to stop discrimination in the United States Armed Service. But Barry Goldwater was not a champion of Civil Rights Act bill. And so Martin Luther King went on to say, although Goldwater is not a racist, by him not supporting this, that actually upholds the current racist structure. And then King went Democrat with LBJ. And then all of the blacks at that point followed King and went Democrat. And of course, again, the Democrats were the Confederates. They were the slave power. But you had Democrats who wasn't against, who wasn't pro-slavery. You know what I'm saying? Just like you can have some Republicans that word like, oh, yeah, that's up to the state. Let them do their thing. I'm not an abolitionist just because I'm a Republican. So you can have, you can have that. That happens and whatnot. And so, but 64 is when the switch happened. And see, you know that in the culture because the rap culture shows us in our 6-4 Impala, we hitting switches. That's what we call hydraulics. So there was a switch in 64 for real. There was a switch in when we went from the Democratic Party to from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party in the 1964 election. And we ain't been back since. Right. And so this is just a flat out true in that order. Just in that order. All right. Okay. Let me come over here, man. Y'all good? Put something in the chat, man. Say something to me, man. Y'all straight? I thought I was gonna be on here for a minute. I'm about to get up out of here. Say something to me. Solar Mike. So quick little history class, man. This shit is so basic too, man. It's so basic. So but yeah, man, we laying it down. Laying out the sequence. We're like on chapter 5, and just putting it in this proper perspective, which is really, 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 really simple. It's just really simple. I really want to start going to the street, and polling people. And hey, I cash app you $100 right now if you can name the first 5 presidents in order. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can name the first 5 in order, go. You know what I'm saying? I told you I can do it by election. I can do it by election. You're gonna have it all starts in 1788. See, I'm a sucker for patterns, man. Like I'll take something like, let me see if I can show y'all real fast. Let me show you the back of this. So I'll do something like this, right? So I can help myself learn. 1788 plus 4, 1792, then 1796, then it's gonna be 1800, then it's gonna be 1804, and then we'll come back to 1808, ending in the 8, right? And then it'll be 1812, and then it'll be 1816, 1820, 1824. So I don't know if y'all can see that. There you go. Right. So if it all starts in 1788, then the next election is 92, then 6, then 0, then 4, then it comes to 1808, then the last number starts to repeat itself. So I put everything in its category as far as this numerical sequence goes. You know what I'm saying? And it's a 20-year gap every time they line up and whatnot. And then I can fill it in by election. You know what I'm saying? So then it's what's up, Lloyd? Nah, it's all good. No, man, come on, man. You gotta cam up, man. That's easy, man. Let me see. So we don't want to cam up, bro. Come on, man. Come on. All right, what'd you say? I don't want to cam up, but I can say that you cannot debunk Lincoln's words with the opinions of his opponent in a debate. You Lincoln words saying he didn't mean what he said, but you can't say that he meant what he said. You can't tell me I can't say he ain't mean that, but you gonna tell me he mean that. He said 2 different things, and you absolutely can go by Lincoln's opponent because that's called a primary source. So it ain't about what I say he meant. It can't be what you said it meant. The person that was absolutely there that's debating him told you what it meant. We're not going to even hypothesize what it meant. Take my guess off the table that Lincoln being being two-faced. Okay, I'm going to take that off the table. I retract that. What did the man say who used that same quote that you use? The man said Lincoln is doing this for political effect. That's exactly what he said. I'm not making it up. Douglas said he is doing it for political effect. He talks that shit that you're quoting when he's down south, but plays a different tune when he's up north. I'm not buying it because I want you to have the right to pick slavery. He's not one of us. He said black people have the same right as white people. I don't trust them. So come on, bro. What is you talking about, Lloyd? Like, really? It's obvious what it is. And that's what it was. That's what it was. Douglas said it. Don't believe him. South Carolina didn't believe him and fired the first shot. Lincoln said in his inauguration speech, I don't believe I had the power to alter slavery. That's what the man said. But then will be the same one to issue an Emancipation Proclamation and say, hey, slavery is over everywhere. South Carolina saw through that. That's why they fired the first shot. Why did South Carolina fire the first shot? Because they knew Lincoln was against slavery. They wanted to secede. They saw that, oh no, nah, he gonna be the one. He the one. He the one that's gonna we out. We're gonna form our own nation. Hopefully they don't bother us. We're gonna form our own thing. I don't know why they think that, because they fired the first shot. And that's what happened. So I've read the debates. Yeah, I read them. And again, now see, this is a military question, Lloyd. Here's a military question. If you're Abraham Lincoln and you are anti-slavery, do you think you're going to go down south and have an anti-slavery rhetoric? Or do you think you should at least be smart enough and develop a forked tongue and talk that slick shit when you go down there so you can win more votes? Like, if you really think at that climate, at that time, 1860, that Abraham Lincoln was going to be able to go down south talking about, I'm an emancipator, I'm going to free the slaves, I'm against slavery, this shit down here is evil, that he was going to get those people's votes, you know that is not the thought. So it would be wise. Let's just talk about strategy. It would be wise for us to say, you know what? Talk that superiority shit when you down there. It don't matter once you got the vote, but talk that shit. But Douglas, again, it's like, nah, he faking y'all. He faking y'all. Because see, again, Lloyd, you said, and we pointed it out, I read it in the top of the show. You said that Lincoln didn't, he wasn't going to end slavery where it already existed, but you ain't going to expand with it. So you saying he a racist that don't want to expand slavery? That don't make sense. How you going to be a racist but you don't want to expand slavery? Oh, what a coincidence. This is the racist that happened to say, oh, by the way, all the slaves are henceforth and forever shall be free. Hello, I'll say it again. He said, from henceforth and shall forever be free. Now I need y'all to pass the 13th Amendment to make it law. Let's go. Hmm? Are we going to talk about here's the question then, Lloyd. What law? Now see, we can talk mindset. Now let's talk action. Let's make the rubber meet the road right here. Let's proof up. Type in the chat one law that Abraham Lincoln passed that shows he was a racist and that was detrimental to black people. One. Let's see if you can. Let's see if his physical actions can match this secret ideology that you say he has. So he said in response that he was all aware that all his speeches were copied and printed in all the newspapers. He said his speeches held side by side did not contradict themselves. Of course, he's going to tell you they don't contradict themselves. Of course. He also tell you, if I had two faces, how can I be talking out of this one? Of course, he going to tell you that. Because they really don't, if you understand how to reconcile the difference. It's not a contradiction if I'm standing on that. But if you're trying to compare the 2 points and say that's a contradiction, then okay. This dude, if you saw the movie Lincoln, which this is not a primary source, so Steven Spielberg who wrote it, it was interesting how he displayed the Southerners getting mad and saying Lincoln is using all that lawyer jargon. This was in reference to if Lincoln was going to um, postpone this meeting with the Confederates when they came back to Congress to hold this meeting real fast, if he was going to postpone it while they trying to get the 13th Amendment through. And so they're saying, hey, we heard that Jefferson Davis and the Confederates are here taking the meeting. The South don't want to vote on this 13th Amendment if Lincoln is make holding a secret meeting. We want to know if they here. So they asked Lincoln, hey, are they here? Is there a meeting? And Lincoln give them some slick shit. You know what I'm saying? And they mad on the floor, like this that slick lawyer jargon. Like answer the question. You know what I mean? Like Lincoln was that kind of dude. You know what I'm saying? He was that kind of dude. I don't know, Lloyd, man. It's I think it's you saying he spoke publicly and his actions supported his belief. This partially in the emancipation. First of all the slaves were free from the emancipation. It just wasn't, and that's a military order. So when the Union Army get there, you free. Now it's not law until that same year, the 13th Amendment, but you absolutely free. You just wasn't free by law, but physically, I bet they ass was free. So that's that, right? So again, you can't show one piece of legislation, not one, that Lincoln put on the books that was against black folks. Did he pass a Fugitive Slave Act law that said, hey, white people catch you, you taking your black ass to slavery? Did he pass that? What did he pass? What law? What did he even propose that shows that he was against black people? There is none. There is none. Not one. You can show me. So he has no presidential orders that's against us. In fact, all his presidential orders are actually for us. I don't. What you mean? He allowed the Union states to continue to own slaves. Slavery is officially over in 1865. Officially, officially. Northern states been abolished slavery at that time. I don't. You can't. I don't know nothing about that. He was consistent in not allowing black people to serve on juries and judges and judge white people. I don't know about that. Yeah, I would like to see source data on that. Obviously, it ain't a it probably ain't a big election because his election is in 60. Then the next one is in 64. So black people not allowing black people. I don't know what laws were passed that he signed off of that was preventing black people from participating. Black people ain't even got the right to vote, let alone probably be sitting on somebody's jury. Like this thing happened in a sequence. The sequence is you're not a slave, you a citizen, then vote. He only gets you the first one. You're no longer a slave. Then he's assassinated today on the 14th when he's gonna die tomorrow, right? So what legislation did he pass to support any of that? Come on, bro. You can't be seesawing here. Well, he just wasn't consistent and he wanted to stop it from spreading and whatnot. He did issue the emancipation though and the 13th Amendment though, but he was just inconsistent. You mad that he was inconsistent? I get it. I get it. I get it. But again, Douglas got it and Douglas called him out on it. It was like, nah, bro, I see what you're doing. And that's the ultimate telltale. We don't get the right, Lloyd. Me and you do not get the right to say Lincoln was racist when his very own opponent called him out on it and said he's bluffing, y'all. He don't mean this. He don't mean this superiority shit. Don't let him get you. He's trying to appeal to you. Don't let him get you. You see? And they got God. They got God. Just like Andrew Johnson came on Abraham Lincoln's ticket because the Republicans wanted to have a war Democrat on the ticket. We trying to get out this Civil War thing. We didn't already won. Ain't no more slavery, but shit, we gotta, we gotta figure out a way. Well, we're about to win. We want to win. And let's go to the 1864 election. Like, bro, you understand if Lincoln don't win the re-election and it's still Civil War? Do y'all know? I'm see. This is where we got to get into the spirit of this shit. Okay. So let me share something with y'all. Okay. Let me. I'm gonna go look him up so y'all can see for yourself. General General George Cleveland. In fact, let's go to his election. Let's see if we can find his election poster. All right, now this is General George McClellan. Okay, he fought for the Union, but I want to see something real fast. Can you see? Look at that under his name, where it says Democratic ticket. You will defeat Negro equality, restore prosperity, and reestablish the Union. Lincoln in the Republican ticket, you will bring on Negro equality. See, this is what I'm saying, bro. This is the 1864 election. And this is what I'm reading. So I hope it's blowing up for you where you can see it for yourself. Okay. General George McClellan, who used to be down with the Union, starts to run against Abraham Lincoln. And he's telling you that on the Lincoln side, there's Negro equality. So here it is again, somebody who knows Lincoln firsthand is saying Lincoln is for Negro equality. Something that you said you saw in his debates where he mentioned that we are considered equal based off the Declaration of Independence, right? So here's the story with McClellan. McClellan wasn't aggressive enough in the war and felt like he could have actually won the war had he been a little bit more aggressive, right? But he wasn't. So he got replaced. Now, what a coincidence that this person who we felt like, bro, why didn't you chase Lee when he was running? Like, yo, you had him on the run. Like, why didn't you pursue Lee and put that work in and in this thing? You dismissed. You up out of here. But then when the next election come, you gonna run on the Democratic ticket, not the ticket of the Republicans who's anti-slaves, who you're fighting the war for. You gonna register with the Democrats, and then you gonna have a slogan that's basically telling you we gonna squash the issue. What did it say? You will defeat Negro equality. Y'all saw it for yourself. The man said you're going to defeat Negro equality. So then my question would be, well, damn, if he felt that way in 1964 in the future, was he really about it when he was in the war? Because what a coincidence, we found out that he really wasn't about it like that. And we had to fire him and dismiss him off that post. The Army of the Potomac was getting a ass handed to him on the Eastern Theater. George McClellan wasn't putting in no, they was getting their ass spanked. Until Grant and Sherman came from the West and then Grant took over the armies. Shout out to Pope, did a wonderful job at Gettysburg. We won some things, Battle of Antietam, we got some battles, but The South was handling their own, putting in some work in the very beginning. So anyway, we can see George McClellan is running against Lincoln, but he's saying Lincoln is Negro equality, bro. You know, what you say? And he was growing because he started to believe that black soldiers who serve and fought should be given the right to vote, but the murder stopped his evolution. So it sounds like you're coming on over. So you saying he was evolving to the black side. He started to believe black soldiers who serve and fought should be given the right to vote. So he was evolving into it. Okay, he was coming over. One thing's for certain: he's not down in history as a Confederate. No Confederate ever said that he was a racist and he really wasn't for black people. It was all an inside job. Like nobody's ever substantiated any other claim outside of slavery. Now there's a new history is trying to there's a new writing that's trying to whitewash and block out this history, mainly by Southerners, and it's called the Lost Cause. And we want to act like it wasn't about slavery. That's why in the very beginning of this, if we go back and I take y'all to see, watch this. If it wasn't about slavery, see this is what you got to do to people, right? So anybody that ever say the Civil War wasn't about slavery is full of shit. Now watch this. If you type in South Carolina session speech, hopefully Avalon got that over there at Yale too. Y'all got that? Thank you. Watch how many times the word slave pop up. And if I'm not mistaken, it should be about 18 times as the word slave as a base. Thank you. Thank you, memory. When you look for the word slave, slave as the root word appears 18 times. And this is the state that said we're starting the Civil War and we're leaving the United States of America. They said that. Okay. So slave pops up as a base word 18 times. Okay. So y'all tripping. Y'all tripping. They telling you the federal government is putting in work against this. These ends are endeavored to accomplish by a federal government in which each state was recognized as equal and has separate control over its own institutions. The right of property in slaves was recognized by giving to free persons distinct political rights, by giving them the right to represent and burdening them with direct taxes for three-fifths of their slaves, by authorizing the importation of slaves for 20 years, meaning they had a 20-year deadline to stop slavery. This is South Carolina giving you the reason why they're attempting to leave the United States of America and form their own nation. And they're complaining about the United States federal government is interfering and only will allow them to count three-fifths of their slaves and not all of them. This has nothing to do with three-fifths of a human being. You can only count three-fifths for representation power. South Carolina sees it. That means you're not allowing us to have more representation in Congress. Why can't we count all the damn slaves? That's not fair. But the federal government said, well, nah, how you going to count them? You said they property. Make up your mind, sucker. Is the slaves property? Because if they property, then you can't count them to vote because property can't vote. But now if they people, if you want to play that game, if they people, then you're gonna have to pay, if they property, you're gonna have to pay a tax. But if they people, that they can vote. But now if they vote, you're gonna be like, oh shit, they're gonna outnumber us in the vote and we're gonna be fucked up. So we don't want them to vote. But if they property, you're gonna have to pay taxes. I don't want to pay no taxes either. Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what you're gonna do then. You're only gonna count three-fifths of them. How about that? It's a gangster move. It's a takeover. Okay. So they're here whining their ass off. They whining their ass off. The motherfucking government is intervening. So y'all see the word slave pop up 18 times in Mississippi secession speech, man. They was there. I'm believing them. They was there. No, this is the thing. This is the thing. Lincoln don't never have to ever come back with a contradiction to say black people are superior. And I didn't mean to say that to cancel that out. And if you want to be funky with it, you were inferior at that time anyway. You're sitting here waiting for, again, this was make me mad about the black man. The black man is the black slave is a sucker. He's soft. He's the softest piece of human specimen we ever had. I hate that I'm related to him somehow. I don't want to be. Because like you didn't get out that situation. You didn't even fight your way out the situation. Somebody else came and you joined as you should. You know what I'm saying? But you ain't overthrow nothing to get out that situation. So you were absolutely in an inferior position with your bitch ass. That's how I would see the slaves. You are absolutely in an inferior position with your bitch ass. All y'all niggas with this one master and a couple of his sons or boys, y'all ain't gonna, we ain't riding on them tonight. And made the best man win. But like I ain't living life like this. You ain't gonna be selling me and selling my woman and selling my children and shit. You know, any day you feel like it, you got me all the way fucked up. Somebody has to die, or we have to run away. Like I'm not staying. I know. I'm not staying. I have absolutely no plans on staying here. Like this one indentured servitude where they said 3 years, nigga, and you out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I got 3 years, cool. But now we don't know. Like, this could be forever. No, I'm cool. I'm not staying. So for Lincoln to even say that, although we know what his take was based off of what Douglas said it was, it's actually a true statement. Can we admit that? You were absolutely in an inferior position at that point in time. Absolutely. Absolutely. Still is mentally, because we think that somebody else is superior over us, which is so homosexual in nature. Oh, white supremacy, superior. Man, ain't nobody doing nothing to you. Who? You know good and well, mom and daddy said you go outside and you pick up something and you knock the shit out of them. That was the instructions we were given as kids. They bothering you, you pick up something and you knock the shit out of them if you got to. Them the instructions. Right? Yep. Black's fault. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? So, you know, nah, man. Nah. 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 There's no need to emancipate the people. That's a contradiction. How you gonna tell us in your inauguration speech you ain't gonna interfere with the institution of slavery? We shoot at you. You ain't like that's the thing. Lincoln ain't even passed no law or did nothing to interfere with the institution of slavery. Why did South Carolina fire the shot? They don't believe it. They know that, oh nah, we ain't gonna even stick around to play these games. We firing. We out of here. Okay, cool. You fired, you out. Soon as you do that, now let's go to war, nigga. Y'all fired on us. Cool. Let's meet up at this spot that we gonna call Bull Run. The South call it Manassas. It's in Manassas, Virginia. Let's meet up at Bull Run. Let's go toe to toe. Oh shit, the boys got that smoke. Confederates win. Shit. Let's meet up again. Bull Run 2. Shit. The boys got that smoke. Shit. All right. The war is taking place a lot on the Virginia homeland. Robert Lee wants to is taxing the soil. You got war going on, man. Your railroad tracks getting tore up. The infrastructure, cities and grocery stores, like shit is getting toe up. Infrastructure is getting is killing you. Robert Lee is like, let me shift the war off my soil. Let me go travel to their home court and fuck up they shit. So furthest north at that time was Antietam, Maryland, known as the Battle of Antietam. We win that battle. Look it up. As soon as we win that battle, that's when Abraham Lincoln issued the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation that was going to take place the following January. As soon as he got his first sizable, good military victory, he made the announcement of the Emancipation Proclamation. But you just told us in your inauguration, sir, you was not going to interfere with the institution of slavery. Psych. See? So the emancipation in of itself should be way more than self-evident what his play was. Again, go read the inauguration. He said he ain't gonna interfere with it. Even said it in the debates, he ain't gonna interfere with the institution of slavery. As soon as he get his military victory, slaves are free and shall forever henceforward be free forever. He said ever. But that dude signed us off into the future. Not right now. He said, shall forever be free. Forever. Thank you, bro. Thank you, Abe. That was ingenious to do that. And that's what won the day. So again, I don't think you was here, Lloyd, when you had Roger Taney, the Chief Justice, who told Dred Scott niggas can't be citizens. He's a Confederate. Do y'all know? If y'all think I'm lying, like I pull it up. I've been showing y'all receipts all night. There was a judge. Okay. Okay, watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Illest chess move, Sharita. Hey, don't let these women get the art of woe before y'all dudes get it. And y'all wonder why the woman king coming out type shit and Harriet Tubman's is doing shit. It's because we as men can't see military strategy. And don't even talk military strategy. So his name is John Campbell, US. Let's see. Will he pop up? Let me see. Dred Scott. He pop up. Now, let's see. American Civil War. Check this out, little fucker. In March and April 1861, prior to the outbreak of the American Civil War, Justice Campbell served as mediator between the three commissioners representing the Confederacy in the Lincoln administration, right? Now, hold on, where do it go? Here it is. In October of 1862, he was appointed Confederate Assistant Secretary of War. So my point is, this dude was a judge against the Dred Scott case. Okay. Do we have to find Dred Scott somewhere in here to see? Huh? Okay, here it is. His descendant Campbell would later refer to it in his Dred Scott concurrence. He agreed, right? The Supreme Court upheld original sovereignty in the 1845 decision, and Campbell would later refer to it in his Dred Scott concurrence. So he voted against Dred Scott. But when the war would break out, he would leave being a judge and go be Assistant Secretary of War for the Confederates. So that ideology as a judge, I just showed you the judges could be Confederate. See, the question is, have we been infiltrated on any level? That's the question. Because when you represent this, it's easy. It's it ain't no bullshit. But when it's bullshit in the mix, this gets infiltrated. You see what I'm saying? So again, I just showed you. Tani was like that. The judges was in on this shit. Right? So they don't represent United States. They represent Confederacy. And that's a perfect example because he was like, "Oh, I'm out. I'm going with the Confederates. That's how I roll." You see? So we had to weed these fuckers out, man. We had to literally weed them out. So again, my point is when Roger Taney leaves, who voted against Dred Scott and made that statement, then why would Abraham Lincoln put in Salmon P. Chase, who is an abolitionist? Like I showed it earlier. Abraham Lincoln is going to put in an abolitionist as Chief Supreme Court Justice. But it makes sense because Abe is abolitionist, man. Hello, the Republican Party started. How can Abe be a racist when the Republican Party started as the anti-slavery party? Riddle me that. That's that new age talk, man. You gotta if you can't read between the lines, I don't know what to say. It's game. Game gotta peep game. You know what I'm saying? You in a hostile environment. You better say something. It's actually ingenious. Because like I said, when the Republican Party in 1864 was like, you know what, Lincoln, you don't need a partner from Northeast Massachusetts. All them motherfuckers up there is free staters. Like you don't need that. Right now, we're trying to get your re-election in the time of a war. So if we elect somebody from the free staters, it's gonna seem like this thing is too much about the freedom of slavery. The war ain't over. It's 1864. The war is not over. And Lincoln may not get reelected. Again, the worst case scenario would be a Democrat gets elected, call the Civil War off, and slaves go back into slavery. Like niggas better be thanking God that didn't happen because that could have been the reality. But, and I'm at the end because I'm repeating myself. But that wasn't the reality, right? That just wasn't the reality, man. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. It wasn't it. I don't know what else to say. That was not the reality. Like, okay, they put this in play. We out that situation there. That's what happened. We out. All right. So again, I would like to see laws because I could name some laws. I can name a few of them that shows what the play was. Easily show what the play was. Again, like I said, the strategy, these cats put Andrew Johnson on the ticket, a war Democrat, somebody who owns slaves in Tennessee, a border state, but he don't believe in slavery to the extent that he'll go against the nation and join the Confederacy. But he is a slave owner from Tennessee, and he said that the South was wrong for fighting against the national government because at no level, at no time are you supposed to fight against the national government. So we called him a war Democrat. And we said, now, if we put him on the ticket, this is going to look like, look at the optics of that shit. Really look at the optics of that. If Abraham Lincoln gets somebody from Maine, it's going to look like that's that Northeast free shit. Nah, man, we ain't voting. We want to get this war over. It's been going on for 3 years, almost 4 years now. Let's get it over. I'm not voting for that. But if we put a Democrat on the ticket, a war Democrat, the optics of it is, oh well shit, he trying to restore the union. Like, okay, this ain't really all about that. Ain't about this freedom thing all like that. So you got white people down south who also felt like you shouldn't leave the United States of America over the slave issue. But the slave issue is a fight, it's a civil war, it's so devastating. I just want to get it over as quick as possible at this point. I'm going to vote for the candidate that want to end the war. This is why, again, McClellan's campaign slogan was, we're going to do away with this Negro equality stuff. But if you vote for Lincoln, it's going to be Negro equality. It's still going to be some more struggles and shit going on with the Negro. I'm going to put an end to this shit if you vote me in. So you got to get clever. Who's going to be my running mate that can gather people that don't really agree with the South, but they're in the South? Let me get this war Democrat Andrew Johnson on there. Now, the argument should be, wait a minute, Lincoln, but what would have happened if he just would have stayed straight gangsters with radical Republicans? Because if the radicals would have got their way, the Confederates weren't even allowed to occupy government seats on city level, county level. If you reached the rank of lieutenant, you couldn't even be in any faction of the government. And that was ingenious. Shout out to Benjamin Wade. Shout out to Thaddeus Stevens. You know what I'm saying? Like, ingenious. And B Wade from right here where Sherman and Grant was from. You know what I'm saying? So, like, nah, uh, But if they win, we ain't never gonna have a Ku Klux Klan, because we know how they are. These are Confederates. When they get back down here, man, like, if we don't keep our foot on their neck, they'll turn into the Ku Klux Klan. They start instituting black laws and stuff like that. It's gonna become a problem. They didn't listen to the radicals. It became a problem. That's what happened. But what happened if you would have tried to win that election and Abraham Lincoln would have lost that re-election, like I said? Then that's way worse than the first scenario. Would you rather go through civil rights era or lose the election and go back into slavery? And so when you got that kind of pressure on you, think about that. If that's you, you got a choice. If you run with this person and you lose, niggas is going back into slavery. But if you go with this person for optics and you win, we can keep them free and finally get them free and do our thing. What you gonna do? I'm not betting on no 50-50 shot, because if I lose, that means you're going back into slavery. Under no circumstances can Abraham Lincoln lose the 1864 election. So that means bring Andrew Johnson on the ticket to appeal to Southerners. And it worked. Now, he undid some things when he was in there, without a shadow of a doubt, because after all, he's a Southerner, but not so slavery, pro-slavery, where again he fought for the Confederacy. But you might as well say he had that sentiment, right? But it's stages, and we need to know what the stages was. Or like Sharita said, we need to know what the chess moves was. All right, man. So I would love to have you, man. I'd love to have y'all. We're gonna do another one. I think Jew coming with who got smoked with Jesus. I can't wait till that come out. You know what I'm saying? We got so much stuff we got dealing with this, man. It's gonna be off the it's gonna be off the chain. It's gonna be off the chain for real. All right. So I enjoy y'all, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Click the like button, subscribe, hit the notification buttons and stuff, man. I'll be tomorrow, 1:00, Hip Hop Astrology TV. I'll be on that channel talking about the eclipse. All right. So yeah, I'll see y'all later. All right. Appreciate you. Peace.